I woke up just after sunrise and heard engines roaring outside my gate. Then I saw tow trucks carrying away vehicle after vehicle from my property. 22 cars were gone before I could even understand what happened. That was when I realized the HOA had made a very expensive mistake. I walked the entire property and counted every empty space. There were 22 vehicles missing, including work trucks and family cars. Not one owner had authorized the towing, and every vehicle had been taken while we were asleep. Then Karen showed up carrying a folder like she had already won. She told me the HOA had authorized every tow on my property. According to her, my vehicles were supposedly violating community rules. I asked her one simple question. Show me where you own my driveway. Karen claimed the driveway belonged to the HOA. I pulled out my deed and the original property survey. The documents showed something completely different. Every inch of that driveway was legally part of my property. The surveyor checked the boundary markers twice. Then he looked at Karen and confirmed the entire driveway was mine. The HOA had crossed onto private property without permission, and suddenly Karen stopped looking so confident. I didn't yell, threaten anyone, or touch Karen's paperwork. I simply made one phone call to the proper authorities. I gave them the deed, the survey, and the towing records. Then I asked them to help me recover my property. The towing company received the call before they could finish their morning routes. Their dispatcher checked the records and immediately realized something was wrong. The HOA had requested the towing, but the property wasn't under HOA control. Now every vehicle they had taken became part of a serious dispute. By the afternoon, the first tow truck started coming back. One by one, my vehicles were returned to the exact places they had been taken from. The neighbors gathered around to watch the entire thing. Karen stood there silently as her big plan began falling apart. Karen suddenly demanded that the tow company stop returning the vehicles. She claimed the HOA had authority over every car on the property. The deputies asked her to produce the legal authority for that claim. Karen opened her folder and couldn't find it. Then I handed the deputy the original deed and certified survey. It proved the HOA had no authority over my private driveway. 22 vehicles had been towed without lawful permission, and by sunset, I knew Karen was about to learn just how expensive that mistake would be. I woke up before sunrise to the sound of engines outside my gate. 22 of my vehicles were already hooked to HOA tow trucks. They thought their private enforcement crew could take whatever they wanted. They had no idea I was about to return the favor. I found their towing list taped to my front gate. Every vehicle was marked as an alleged HOA violation, but none of those vehicles were actually on HOA property. They had crossed the line from enforcement into trespassing. I pulled out my deed and the original property survey. The parking area they had invaded was completely mine. The HOA had absolutely no authority over that section of land. That discovery changed everything. The HOA president called me laughing about the vehicles. She said they were already being taken to their authorized lot. Then she warned me not to interfere with HOA business. I simply asked her one question. Whose property is that lot on? The answer was the part they never expected me to check. Their so-called authorized impound lot sat on land I legally owned. They had been using my property without permission for years, and now they had delivered their entire fleet straight into my hands. I drove straight to the impound lot and closed the gate. Every HOA tow truck was suddenly sitting on my property. I posted the legal notice and called the county authorities. For the first time that morning, the HOA president stopped laughing. She arrived screaming that I had no right to touch her trucks. I reminded her that every truck was parked on my land. She threatened to call the police and have me arrested. I told her, "Go ahead. I have the deed right here." The sheriff arrived and carefully reviewed the property records. Within minutes, he confirmed the impound lot was privately owned. The HOA president suddenly had nothing to say. Her entire towing operation had been built on land she didn't own. By sunrise, the same people who had towed my vehicles were trapped behind my gate. Their fleet had become evidence in their own property dispute. I arranged for my vehicles to be returned immediately. Then I handed the HOA president a bill for every unauthorized tow. The HOA had started the morning by stealing 22 vehicles from my property. They ended it with their entire fleet legally impounded on my land. The judge later ordered them to pay every towing and storage cost. And that was the day the HOA learned my property line was not negotiable.